You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 363, Optimizing Your Unique Marketing Archetype with Christina Frei. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Today, you're going to meet our guest, Christina Frei. Christina runs Innate Marketing Genius, a boutique marketing practice helping clients get great clients through authentic marketing. Her approach, Marketing for Humans, determines their true voice and launches a content-rich, expertise-building strategy. This all came out of a field of study with 40 business owners, which is featured in her recent TEDx talk, Paradox of Loneliness. Before we jump into our conversation with Christina, I want to invite you to take my next level business owner quiz. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, find out what's most holding you back, and then get a curated, personalized playlist of podcast episodes that specifically address that. And you can implement in your business immediately. Hit pause and go take this quick 3-minute quiz to find out what's most holding you back to getting your business to the next level. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Welcome to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast, Christina. How are you today?
I'm great, Amber. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So we are going to be diving into some fun stuff today. And before we do, I would love for our listeners to find out a little bit more about you than we heard in your official bio.
So I may have, I think you basically mentioned that I do cold dipping, but what I didn't talk about is that I have a 150-person community that I actually go in the ocean with all year long. And that's officially twice a week. So we just sort of descend on a beach, like north of Boston in Massachusetts, and we're just the crazies that are having the greatest time and suffering.
Oh my gosh, I love that. My husband got into cold plunging about 1.5 years ago. And I mean, when you say not addicted, but literally I could tell him anything. And I'm just like, oh, my knee is a little hurting today. And I could have been walking, he's like, ice bath, take a cold plunge. Like every answer, it doesn't matter what I tell him, his answer is ice bath. Yep. Ice baths fix everything. And I did do it with him for a while. It didn't become my habit, but this man does it every single day.
Okay, ice bath is like a whole other level. I mean, usually when we go in, it's between 60 and 40. Ice bath is legit 32 degrees.
Yes. So and my husband goes to work really early, and I'll hear him. It's 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I'll hear him, yes, it's 33. Yes, it's 32. Because he has to put ice in it and stuff, and he's trying to get this temperature, and he's in there celebrating. And we are just not the same people, but it has actually changed his life. So I'm sure that's amazing for your community, and they look forward to it, and it gets their energy going for the week. And it sounds like a beautiful community.
It is definitely something to do. I'll say that.
Well, I love the accountability. You built this community or have this community, and there's nothing better than community for accountability to keep going.
So true.
All right. So we get to talk about marketing archetypes today. And I'd just like you to just start off with, what is that? Why is it important to us? And we'll jump off from there.
Sure. So in 2017, I worked with 40 different business owners, people who are experts at their field. And I was sort of frustrated because I could have given them the greatest marketing plan of their life, but I kind of knew in the deepest part of myself that they just wouldn't do it because it's always going to fall to the bottom of the pile, let's be honest. So I asked myself, like, what if I use this mindset journey that I'd created for another reason to kind of identify their deepest motivation when they get out there and help people? Because I mean, good marketing is you getting out there and helping people and hopefully getting clients. So I did that. Like I walked these people through a journey, and when they took it, it revealed a way of being and operating that I just saw in my mind's eye as an archetype. So some of them were more like adventurous, some of them were more nurturing. When I looked at all the 40, I did notice some very strong categories, which we'll be talking about. But really what they point to is like when you're the happiest clam, when you're helping another human, whatever your profession or work, what's going on with that? Like, what is the deeper motivation? Even if you're a good person and you love helping people, like you have your own way of doing that that really brings you to life. That is your marketing archetype.
Okay, I love that there was a pain point in your business and you didn't solve this in a little way. You solved it in a big way. And I love that.
Thanks.
The way that I, briefly define marketing myself is letting the world know what it is you do and how you can help them.
There you
And
go.
and when we say it that way, even just one step, I love the way you're saying it, but even just saying, letting the world know what it is you do and how you can help them takes it one step off of, okay, what's on my marketing checklist this week? As you said, like, it's just like, sometimes if it's not your lane, it's a grind. So we're going even deeper than that. And the motivator of, I'm assuming answering that question, why do you like helping people and how do you like helping them?
And I have 5 answers to that. Do you want me to share the 5
Yes.
categories? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is nurturer. You know that you're a nurturer if you're the one who likes to make the whole group of people in the room nice and comfy and feel supported and safe so that they can thrive. And that's your motivation. You want to make it safe for other people to thrive. And there's many ways to do it. That's a nurturer. You know you're an adventure guide in the second category if you get really impatient for people to reach for their biggest goals and you see what's possible for them way before they do. And you're just like, come on, man, let's do this. And you inspire them to do it by actually going for big things yourself. So you're the one that models everything. That's the
Okay.
adventure guide. The third one is called door opener. Door openers are what I think of like as the Leonardo da Vinci's of it all, meaning they see things from a million different angles. The deep motivation is, I'm going to open up a whole new world for you based on just how you look at it. And they tend to have a million different ways to look at it. So they're never short of ideas. And they're big problem solvers and natural educators. That's a door opener. The fourth category is a steady presence. Steady presences are the ones that are like, okay, no matter how bad it gets, I'm here for you. I'm the calm in the storm, the pillar, the lighthouse, whatever you want to metaphor you want to use. And they need to be nerding out in public. Their deep why is you will get there from here. Again, no matter how bad it is. And I could just go on and on about a lot of my clients are steady presences because they're the ones who hate marketing the most.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
the last one is celebrators. And your deep why as a celebrator is to bring the good life. You typically have an incredible flair, whether it's, you bring all kinds of beauty and design sense, you're funny, like a natural humor, you're a walking party, take your pick. But again, a healthy celebrator wants to bring the good life.
Okay,
And those are the
excellent.
5.
And is someone solely in one of the 5?
Some people are. It's actually more common that people have 2. Sometimes there's a primary and a secondary. Sometimes they're operating equally. But yeah, typically it's 1 or 2.
And how does somebody find out what their archetype is?
Well, that is the perfect lead in to the assessment that I have. It's called the Marketing Archetype Assessment. And in about 7 minutes, you answer the 35 questions and figure out what you are. I will say it's meant to sort of push you a little bit because if you're listening to this, I already know you love to help people. The challenge is to be honest about what really drives you. And maybe that means some of the stuff you don't want to do. And it's hard to admit that sometimes.
Right. So once you find out what your marketing archetype is, how do you bridge that gap into the marketing strategy? And I know that's what you help with, but like, how do you connect that dot once you find that their underlining why and what drives them?
Mhm.
How does that affect strategy?
Okay, so the first thing that it affects is their message. I'll just start there. So let's say we talked about this. You're a door opener celebrator, which is super high energy. That's Amber. If you're listening to this, that's what we landed on. And that basically means that especially if you're leading as a celebrator, that it's all about like, you just want to bring color and life and vitality to the people around you. And of course, if we work together, I'd be like, so what's your version of that? Like, how do you like to do that? Because every celebrator has their own way of doing that. So that's one aspect of it. And then as a door opener, you're the one who's always innovative as well. Like maybe the way that you bring the good life is kind of cutting edge. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
We would have that conversation. That being said, whatever the message is going to be, we look at that and it needs to bring out both of those strengths. So your message is definitely, and when I say message, I mean, it's kind of like the story brand. It's the thing that it weaves through everything that you say.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it like your brand story brand, like a la Donald Miller, whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it just needs to capture how you bring the good life and the innovative way that you do that. So that is going to be your message. That's step one after discovering that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then, as far as landing on a strategy, I could tell you that like, hey, all celebrators should have parties all the time. Or, hey, if you're a door opener, you should have like cutting edge trade shows to wow people. And there is some truth to some of that. But I will say, here's how I land on the strategy. This is a whole other conversation. I'll keep it short. I look at your marketing archetype. I also look at what are your business needs right now? Because if you're just starting out, that's a very different place than, we're kind of plateaued and we need a refresh, different strategy.
Yeah.
And then I also look at how do you naturally connect as a human? Are you the one that loves to be up on stage? Or do you love to actually just have one-on-one conversations? Is it, where's your mojo socially?
Yeah.
So all three of those go into, and it's literally like a 90-minute discussion that I have with my one-on-one clients. Like all that goes into landing the perfect strategy. It's like you have one. And if you're listening to this and you're like, the perfect strategy, there's like 55 strategies I could be doing. But I have done a 7-year field study to test this out. Is there such a thing as a perfect strategy? And what I have found is that, there's usually one that's like, you know what? You're meant to be doing interviews on a podcast right now, short form. Like we really suss it out. If you slow it down and really look carefully at yourself and your business needs and your marketing archetype, you will find something bubbles up. It's like this is how I want to show up.
That's incredible. So the strategy isn't do what your friends said worked for them. It's not what is popular. It's not what you should be doing. It's truly tapping into yourself and aligning with the thing that you're going to show up your best in, because people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And so if you're showing up your best, chances are you're increasing your conversion rate there. So can you give me like a real life example? Okay. So I think I should be on, and meaning I'm saying for a client, like, I think I should be on Instagram and it doesn't align with my marketing archetype. What is your recommendation? Is it put pause on that and put your energy elsewhere where you're going to get a bigger ROI because it's in alignment with my archetype? Or is it Instagram's a strategy, but like, let me tell you how to show up your best on Instagram?
Right. Okay. Number one, I actually believe that if you commit to any strategy long enough, you're going to master it. And it doesn't matter what your archetype is. So just to be real about that, like even the nerdy steady presences, I've seen it done beautifully on Instagram. You can be a really incredible expert and go deep, with those like very thoughtful slides, right? You just learn so much.
Yeah.
So, that's one answer. But another one is, okay, let's say like, I would just ask like, where did that idea come from in the first place?
Right. Yours or somebody else's.
Yeah. And let's say the person likes to do visual formatted communication, just in general, like they've been a photographer or they love to get on Canva and nerd out or procreate, then there's already some juice there, which is also what I look for. And also, are all their colleagues and friends on there? Do they have constant vitality as far as like communication and conversation? Do you like following people? Do you like watching? Do you find that it sucks your life force energy to, stay on there for too long? These are all legit because marketing is a long game
Yes.
and you have to really be fed by it in some capacity before. And that doesn't mean you can't step out of your comfort zone. It just means like if you want to hurl every time you think about it, maybe that's not your strategy.
Yeah, I agree. I've talked to clients over and over the years, and, to your point, it's all about consistency. And so if it's a strategy that's so far out of your box, so far out of your skill set, then you're probably not going to do it long enough. You're not going to be consistent long enough to get really, really good at it. And so because there's so many strategies that can work, right? We can literally find case studies for any strategy, and the through thread is they showed up consistently. And they also were not great when they first started. And they're probably a lot better now because they kept showing up for it.
Absolutely.
So everything you're saying, I remember I started my podcast in 2017. We're in 2024. And a couple years ago, we were doing like a celebration episode where we were going to go back and do some old clips, like montage, right? So I had to go back and listen to them. And I fell off my chair laughing at myself of what it was like to do solo episodes, to be a host. And I was like, I can't believe I kept going. It was just straight naive. And the night and day difference of repetition, showing up, doing it over and over again, not getting in my head that I wasn't as great as the best podcasters, and just understanding that I was on my own journey. And at the end of the day, I really liked it. Right. And so that's why I kept sticking with it. That's why I kept being like, how can I get better at this? How can I, use this as a creative outlet? Meaning you were just saying you got to get, what was your term? You got to get a return on it. You used a different
some
language.
kind of juice.
Yes, like I'm doing this to give to other people, right? Having the podcast is all about giving to other people, but you got to get something in return because there's a lot of energy and time that goes into it. And for me, it was part creativity. It was about the wins other people were getting. And maybe we should talk about my marketing archetype and why podcasting has been a fit for me and how that lines up with what you shared with me before we started recording.
Yeah, sure. And of course, now we're all going to go back and listen to your back catalog.
I mean, if you want, and I wrestled with that. That's a really good point. I wrestled with that. I thought I should just delete them. That's so long ago. I've probably reset it in a different way. So much better again, in the last few years. And you know why I kept them? Is because I wanted people to see the transition and know they could start anywhere.
Yeah,
I
there's
didn't
no
want
shame
to
in that.
cover up the messy start because everybody starts messy somewhere.
Totally. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So
Well,
you asked me if those two resonated with me.
yes. So we have celebrator and we have door opener, which is like you bringing the good life and probably doing it in an innovative, fresh way. So would you say that this podcast really fits those two motivations in yourself?
Yeah. When you shared that with me, I was listening, not even even though I knew we were talking about marketing, I wasn't hearing that through the lens of marketing or my podcast when you first shared it. I heard it and I immediately was able to apply how I work with my clients, like how I deliver the knowledge that I have, how I work with them in a coaching relationship. And I don't know if that was the right or wrong way, but I'm assuming marketing comes after you figure out how you do your services. And so these archetypes align with how I do my services. The first one about the good life is I have always prioritized productivity as the means to the end of like living a holistic life that you enjoy and being a business owner and not, pushing out and carving out your hobbies and self-care and family time. And really like we started our businesses, to use your words, not to have not negative, to have a good life. We did it because we wanted to have a good life. Like I would use those words, even though that's the words you were using. It's like, how can we enjoy this journey? And so when you shared that, it didn't resonate with me, the creativity or the art. I don't think of myself as incredibly creative, but I do resonate with wanting to bring beauty to business ownership, because the reason I started my business was because I saw people so burnt out, so overwhelmed, so beat down by the burdens of business ownership. I felt it could be different. And that's what actually started my business 15 years ago.
Yeah, gorgeous. And so as much as it's tempting to say, well, podcasting is a lovely celebrator strategy for you to live into that. But what I think is going on is because you're tuned into that and you're using this particular way to get it out there, that it has sustained you. I mean, it's sort of you're living your deepest why. That's just, I'm always looking for that, because there's always going to be 15 new strategies to chase after, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it feeding you? Is it feeding you? Is it feeding you? Like over and over and over. Like, is this really deeply satisfying to you? Because that's going to be your fuel over the long haul.
So like I have tears in my eyes right now, right? Because like I just shared like my deepest, like my why. And I think that podcasting is a medium that aligns with my personality. But the podcasting is the medium I choose because I feel like if somebody stumbles upon my messaging, it's one less person that's normalizing not enjoying being a business owner. It's one less person that is not normalizing feeling overwhelmed or thinking it just has to be this way because it is that way. And I truly feel like it's my calling or my mission to just keep telling everybody, like, that's not normal, but you're normal. There's nothing wrong with you. That just doesn't need to be your normal.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's nice to know stuff like that. So then I would ask you, like, just to hop over to the door opener side, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way that you help people keep things fresh? Like, I would imagine you having different guests that see things differently is really satisfying to you. So it's like no one ever gets stuck in one way of looking at something or doing something. Like, is that enjoyable for you?
Yeah. So again, I take that back to the work I do too, because productivity and time management, working with a business coach, there's usually this box like of this is what it should look like. And this is the thing that I think sets me aside from any other productivity or time management coach, is that there's fundamental strategies that work, but how you apply it has to be customized. Like all I do is honor my clients and where they're at, their personalities, what's their like what works for them may not work for somebody else. And so when I have this, list of strategies that I want my clients to apply and use, how they use that is different. So innovative, you're looking at it a different angle. It's not a one size fits all, even productivity definition. It's not a one size fits all of what your ideal schedule should look like. It's not a one size fits all about what your business model needs to look like to be successful. And so really looking at everything that we hear of like trigger words and phrases and things that are important in the business and flipping them on their head, questioning them and asking, the only right answer is what's best for you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and I will say, just as a caveat to all that, and I say this for my own work too, as much as I do everything possible to customize it to the person in front of me, I also know that there are some foundational things that just work to keep things going. For example, if you are some kind of consultative service professional, it's a really good idea for you to have a solid network. That's not going to change. That's just foundational. Same thing with like a decent website and having some kind of social media presence. I'm not knocking any of that. There are some very foundational things that need to be in place. But then there comes a time in your business where, let's say 2 years in, usually, you've done it long enough, you've marketed long enough, you've worked with people long enough that you kind of know a lot of things, and it's time for you to take a step up as someone who is an expert, has maybe a unique approach, and you need, it's like stand in that. Go ahead and stand in it. And how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And you're right. I mean, there are foundational marketing principles. It's going to be very hard to have a business and no website. But like, how can you optimize these archetypes when you're thinking of what your website looks like or how people are interacting with it? And to your point, messaging, of course, the copy on the website. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you've seen it. I mean, if you want to nerd out like I nerd out, go watch a bunch of people giving talks. And it's like sometimes people will give really similar talks and you're just completely bored out of your mind. And then another person gives a very, similar talk. And
Yeah.
you're riveted by things like dental hygiene, like why?
Why?
So that's the question I'm always asking. Like, why is this person's voice really compelling? What is the thing behind the thing?
Yeah.
And that's what I help identify in my clients.
Oh, I love all of that. When I first started my business, it was all the rage to blog. So, I didn't know. So I did what everybody else was doing and I blogged. And here was the little secret. I hate writing. Right. And so I'm forcing myself to blog because that's what I think is going to work. And anyone that's getting any kind of traction is blogging. So I would literally pace behind my assistant and talk out the blogs. Right. And then I'd go in my car and I'd listen to a podcast. And then I would go to a luncheon and speak at a luncheon. And then I'd go to the next luncheon and speak at the luncheon. I'm telling you, for me to connect the dots that I should have been podcasting took way too long. But once I did, right, I was like, okay, I don't feel like I feel like I'm overly edited. I don't feel like people can really get my voice and my passion and my personality through writing. It's not my strength. And so when I decided I was going to do the podcasting, that's what I was focused on is like, how can people really get to know me in a little bit more unedited way?
Mhm.
And it's in a way that I actually like to consume information. I was getting in my car listening to podcasts. And so that's how it even started, was a happy accident of me being so frustrated trying to apply a strategy I was getting no traction with. And I actually did not like. It was the only part of my business I didn't like. I was forcing myself to do it.
Yeah. And you gave it a shot. So good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have known it wasn't for me unless you really try, right? And so I think that's a good point, is that before you say something's not for you, maybe just experiment with it and try, because you might find out that it's something you enjoy or that you happen to be really good at, but how do you know until you've given it a shot?
Yeah. I mean, I've had clients that they told me right to my face, like, I'm not a speaker. And this is where I think having an outside perspective really helps,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that you trust, hopefully. And because I just knew somehow in my gut that she would be a great speaker. And
Mm.
that became her strategy. And she became a kick butt speaker that basically converted most of the people in the room sometimes. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not saying you always need an outside person, but sometimes that's what it takes to see that stuff.
Well, you're going to step outside your own limiting beliefs and your mindset, right? And so, we're talking almost 15 years ago, and I was not as confident in areas that I am now. So, my only belief around writing was like, I struggled in English. I couldn't spell to save my life. Like, that was my experience, right?
Mhm.
And so I took all of that, baggage, that mindset stuff into writing. Now that I've done a lot of growth and personal growth and just journeyed in the last 15 years, I would be interested if I'd be a better writer, actually, because I wouldn't have let my limited beliefs and my baggage get in the way. And so for your client that you were like, I just have this feeling you'd be a great, was it mindset? Was it baggage? You're not naming names. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if like your outside perspective was able to say, hey, move over baggage, move over mindset. There's a possibility here.
Yeah. I mean, for her, she had been around someone who was a professional speaker and she sort of put him on this pedestal that, like, unless you're at this incredible level of getting paid thousands, you're not, or whatever the circumstances
Yeah.
were around that. She just decided, if I'm not that way, I'm not a speaker. And very quickly, like, I had seen her in leadership roles standing in front of groups regularly. And it's like, hun, like, you're a great speaker, super articulate, very confident. It's just a matter of getting your content together. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you help your clients. So you help them with both messaging and strategy. So if a business owner was looking to do a brand new business or a rebrand, or do you have an area that you specialize in?
Yeah. So the way that I like to put it is, I sort of alluded to this before. If you are any kind of expert, and a lot of times this happens with a new website, so that might go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But and you're just sort of frustrated that your expertise is not being represented in the way you show up in your marketing, and you're feeling like maybe I should write a book, or maybe I should start that podcast, or something that is like, it's not just a cute Instagram post. It's something that really takes some love and effort to
Yeah.
show how much you know. The way, I mean, it's the same good stuff that you would give to a client, but for a marketing purpose. Like that
Mhm.
takes some love and attention to
Yeah.
get together. Yeah. That's how that's who I help and when I help them.
Okay. So when you say get together, so is it done with you, done for you, or you're consulting?
Yeah, mostly it's done with, because the end game is that you get up every day, and for 45 to 60 minutes a day, if you work on this one strategy, it's the tide that raises all the ships. Like everything else moves forward. That's the end result. And
Okay.
so sometimes I will step in as a copywriter when needed,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times it's like I need to empower them to do as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm just there to help them organize it and launch it.
Okay. Excellent. To bring this conversation full circle, I bet your business is much more enjoyable, that you have solved that problem in a big way, and that you have clients that are able to take action and get results from your unique skill set, from the thing that you get to provide to the world. You get to see it out in the world because you bridged this and really got to the heart and the soul of what will motivate them to take action.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing better.
I know.
I feel blessed every day.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, when you're really in it and you're doing the thing you love, when your clients get wins, it's like wins for you. You're just so excited for them. You're just like, you talked about juice. That's my juice. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. I do happy dances. I mean, it's just the craziest stuff. And it's so real. Like when so my clients do like pre-check-ins and they rate themselves for the week. And like if I see a 4, I'm like, what are we celebrating? This is so amazing. And so that goes back to the celebrator. I see, I didn't even put that together when you said it either. No, like I am full on celebrating. Or I'll have clients in a coaching session that just say, and then I did this, this, and this, and this were wins, but now they're just saying it like it was yesterday's news. I'm like, hold on, we're not passing go. Can we celebrate each of those? Can we talk about each of those? And it sounds like you get a big win out of your clients winning too. So
Always. Yeah.
yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Is there anything else that our listeners should know about how they can leverage their marketing archetype that I didn't ask you, to just help them with their own marketing efforts?
Sure. So if you take the assessment and you figure out, oh, hi, I'm a steady presence with a side of nurture, for
Mm-hmm.
example. So then you're going to get, I think it's about 3 emails that share the basics of that archetype. So you know what your strengths are and what that means. And then you have the option to grab an intro workbook. And that's a good way to just get to work, right? So there are some strategic questions in there. Like if you want to start creating emails from this place, or even a marketing plan, like just spending some time and answering those questions so that you can suss out the real strengths behind your like how your motivation is coming into your current client work. That
Mm-hmm.
provides a lot of great content that you can use for a long time. And then, if you're feeling motivated, obviously to reach out to me, I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how can they get the quiz and also find out more about your services?
Yeah, just go to Innate Marketing Genius. So innate, INNATE, innatemarketinggenius.com. And it's not me. I'm not the innate marketing. You're the innate marketing genius, right? It's your
I
own.
love
That's what you're
that.
discovering. And then /archetype. That's the short way to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then where do you like to hang out on social media?
I'm a lot on Facebook groups, a little bit on Instagram. And yeah, I have a YouTube account, but I'm a little less active there.
All right. We'll be sure to link out to all of those so everyone can find out more about your services and take the quiz. When you shared with me, I was like, gosh, see, I just even got excited about you connecting dots for me about the work. And I'm like thinking, okay, so with this new like clarity, how can I refine my messaging? How can I go at it again? Because I think as business owners, we're on this journey. And as we get clarity, I feel like marketing is one of those things that is never done. The messaging is never, it's this borderline of you don't want to keep redoing it, but also it's never done because we're always changing and evolving and getting clarity in our businesses. So thank you for inspiring me to take a new look at it through the lens of my archetypes.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I'm so glad to know that.
Excellent. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. And I sure hope you enjoyed my conversation with Christina and diving into the marketing archetypes. But I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on my conversation, my hope is that you heard that marketing in your authentic voice and in the ways that align with your personality, if you are a personal brand, is incredibly important. If you are currently wearing the hat of the marketer, then I have learned firsthand, and Christina has shared with us how important it is to align your marketing efforts with your unique marketing archetype. Because consistency is king. Consistency will get results. And if you're in alignment, it is going to be a lot easier to be consistent and therefore get results. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I want to take a moment and thank you and welcome you. Be sure to hit subscribe so you do not miss another episode. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to share it with a fellow business owner who you think would find it valuable. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.